Combining the best of SAP and Siemens. I am Thomas from SAP PLM Product Management, and I will show an end-to-end example how we integrate S/4HANA and Teamcenter. Let's imagine the following scenario. We have our famous SAP rocket, the so-called rocket medium. After a while we plan a change because we have to launch heavier satellites into the orbit. We need a more powerful rocket with more capacity. This is where we introduce our new rocket, Heavy. We will replace the small engine with a stronger one, and we put a bigger payload fairing on top so that larger satellites can fit in. The first part shows the business process new product development and introduction. At the beginning, the CAD files are imported from NX into Teamcenter as part revisions, and the part numbers are retrieved from SAP to ensure a consistent numbering. As it is requested to use Model Unit Effectivity in SAP, the Element Effectivity must be defined in Teamcenter as 1-2 up before the multi-level BOM is sent to SAP. As NX generates only JTs for parts and not for assemblies, the viewing file for the Visual Enterprise Manufacturing Planner, VEMP, is generated after the transfer by the Visual Enterprise Generator based on the part JT files and the transformation matrices of the BOM components. An engineering snapshot is created to prepare the handover. Based on this engineering snapshot, the planning scope for the VEMP is generated. In VEMP, the manufacturing BOM can then be defined visually based on the engineering BOM. In the last step, the manufacturing BOM is used to define the PEO Shopfloor routing, consuming all parts of the manufacturing BOM to operations which are also defined with the Model Unit Effectivity. The second part shows the business process major change triggered by logistics. In this example, a problem report is created in S/4HANA as a change record, and the affected item is sent as reference to Teamcenter. In Teamcenter, a change request and a change notice are derived from the problem report, so that the engineering change can be executed. The change is planned for the model units 5-2 up, so the element effectivities must be updated in Teamcenter before completing the engineering change. In S/4HANA, the viewing file for the changed assembly is generated automatically by the Visual Enterprise Generator, and a new engineering snapshot is created to prepare the handover. The planning scope for VEMP is proposing to create a new version of the manufacturing BOM, and the integrated viewer highlights the changes, the new parts. The user assigns visually the parts to the new manufacturing BOM version, which is used to create a new version of the PEO Shopfloor routing for the model units 5-2 up. So now, let's dive right in and have a look at the end-to-end process.
Let's begin with the transfer of the medium rocket to SAP. The first step here is to create a change notice. Then we import the files from NX for the medium rocket. We start in the CAD system where the active workspace is embedded. To start the initial transfer of the rocket, you need to create a change notice and import the existing rocket to Teamcenter. So, create the change notice. Let's call it import rocket medium. Set this as an active change so that all changes in NX will use this change notice. While choosing the delivered workflow for Model Unit Effectivity, ensure that the correct features are supported. Now you need to import the main files for the medium-size rocket. Here you see that the IDs are already filled. These are coming directly from SAP. This means that the material numbers are already reserved in SAP. You see that the main file has the name, rocket, v158.prt. It will get the material number 13121. Now press OK. The Teamcenter items will now be created, as well as the JT files, which will then be stored in Teamcenter. And here it is, the import operation was successful. Before sending the data to SAP, you need to define the element effectivity. This is the information for which model units this BOM should be available. Now, let's go to the main structure directly in Teamcenter. There, you select the content where you can see the nested structure. Let's expand all levels. Select all items except the main component. For all these items, you add the element effectivity, 1-2 up, which means it is unlimited. Now the element effectivity has been added successfully to the selected elements. Now we don't see those items anymore. The reason is the unit effectivity. If, for example, you select Unit 1, you see all files again. Here, in the column Element Effectivity, you see 1-2 up for every component. Now you have imported the complete structure into Teamcenter. Next, you complete the change notice with this workflow. This will now transfer the complete data to SAP, transferring the JTs and creating the engineering BOM with Model Unit Effectivity. The change notice has been transferred to SAP. You see that the status is closed and approved. And here you see the new tab for the SAP change notice. This occurs when the process is finalized and we have an existing change notice. Before you switch over to SAP, let's check the monitoring logs from the Teamcenter side. Log into the background gateway service from Siemens Teamcenter. Here in the transaction log you see each and every step that T4ST has performed. For example, you see all the mapping steps of parts. Here in this case product versions. Let's look at this part. You see all mapping steps which are defined in the pipeline designer so that you see the complete logic of the individual mapping. For every object type like product version, document version or structure version, there is one communication step to SAP. For example, here for the product version, you see the transfer package action handler for the T4ST product version. Here, T4ST composes all data in the format of the metadomain model. With one HTTP call, with one REST call, it calls the corresponding SAP component, PLM system integration. Here you can see the payload. This is the JSON representation of the metadomain model. Here are the product versions as a JSON collection, containing some key attributes like the ID, the type, which is mapped and defined in the pipeline designer, the version, which is the item revision in Teamcenter, and so on. As a response, PLM system integration returns the process of the SAP processing part. This is also defined by the metadomain model. It contains the collection of all product versions with a key-like material number. It adds to the key the internal SAP key, in this case the internal material number with leading zeros. And here the letter A, which is the material or product revision in SAP. You see the response status, it has been transferred successfully. And this also applies to all materials. The same goes here. You can filter by T4ST for all the different types, for example, the structure version. This is the representation of the BOM, which is the structure version, which contains all components of every BOM. We can now open the change notice in SAP. This is where we will create the MBOM. First, you need to double-check if the Model Unit Effectivity was transferred correctly to the EBOM. Now back in the active workspace which is embedded in the CAT system NX, here in this new tab SAP Change Notice, you can see the display URL, which leads us directly to the change notice in SAP. Now on the SAP side, you see the engineering snapshots which we will use for preparing the MBOM creation. But first, you need to double-check if the Model Unit Effectivity was transferred correctly to the EBOM. The engineering BOM, in this case, is a version BOM. The BOM usage is E. The version is 1. With this button, Display Engineering BOM, you can see all items. And, with this special view you can see the Model Unit Effectivity, which is all related to the header material 13121. And with the parameter range from 1 to unlimited, which is the same as 1 to up as we have defined in Teamcenter. As this looks fine, we can now go to the engineering snapshot to prepare the MBOM creation. In the display transaction of the snapshot, you can see the engineering BOM which has been created. And you can see the details. This is the visual that has been generated by the Visual Enterprise Generator. This is also attached in a document info record to the BOM header. You can also see this in full screen mode. Just to see each and every component. This is how the visuals can be used to analyze the assembly in a graphic mode. Now, to start the handover, we have to prepare the PIP data and also prepare the change record. Now we create the MBOM as a version BOM. Again, you can use the visual to validate that you have the right product. Now we create a change record for the rocket medium. After that, we will launch the manufacturing planner to turn the EBOM into an MBOM. The change record is now created, and the system automatically opens the Manage Change Records app. In this new change record you have now created the engineering snapshot. You have inserted the engineering BOM, and now you have the planning scope for starting the manufacturing planner. To do this, let's switch to the business client, because the manufacturing planner is an SAP GUI application that needs to be started from the business client or the SAP GUI. Now we can go ahead and start the visual manufacturing planner. Using the manufacturing planner we can now turn the EBOM into an MBOM. Launching the manufacturing planner will load the visuals, and for this demonstration we just plan the MBOM exactly as designed, so that you can see the MBOM at the end. You can also mark for release so that the BOM will be released automatically. Now in the message list window, you see that the MBOM has been created with version 001. It has been linked to the document containing the visual, and it is also already released. Now let's reload the page, and you see the MBOM in this manufacturing change record. You see the manufacturing BOM has been created with the version 001, and you can also display it to check if the Model Unit Effectivity has been transferred correctly. Here you see that all components are valid from 1 to unlimited. And the MBOM is released. Which means you can now go ahead and create the routing based on this MBOM. Now select the manufacturing BOM. and you need to create the new routing with default parameters. Next, you need to add an operation. Let's go ahead and pick a standard work center, for example, work center line 1. It has the control key PM01. The operation activity is also 10. This is the main activity. We will put out 2 items into a separate operation activity because this is the one we want to change later. Now in the same operation we just created, we add another activity. For example 20. This is for the medium-size rocket, the existing one we want to change. Let's go to the component assignment workspace. We can see all items. Let's select all of them by pressing the Select All button. However, we need to deselect the payload fairing light and also the first stage engine medium because these are the ones we need to change for our rocket heavy and therefore will be assigned to the activity 20. So, as you can see, these are now assigned to the main activity and these 2 we will now assign to the activity 20. Now all items are released and you can save and release the routing. When we release the routing, we also create the production version, for example production version 1, and some text. Here you see that the production version is referenced to the BOM version 1 and the routing version 1. Now the system is ready to create production orders based on the version 1, which is the medium-sized rocket. In this part of the video, let's trigger a change process for the medium-sized rocket we have transferred in the first part. The change process is triggered from the SAP system, requesting a change in Teamcenter and NX, and then the change is sent back to SAP, updating all the BOMs and also the routing. So let's begin with a change record requesting a change with a problem report. Create a change record of the type problem report. And let's add a suitable description text. Then enter a responsible person for that change. And as material we assign the current material for the rocket. Once we save this as a problem item, it will be transferred to Teamcenter during the next status change. Let's change the status. This triggers the communication to Teamcenter. The integration sends the change record to the Teamcenter instance where the affected part was created. Now that this change was approved, let's switch to NX. Here we look into the team's inbox. There is a new item, Requester Takeover, Prepare for Heavy Payload. Now it is in the general inbox, and by pressing Complete, you can take over this task and the responsibility for this change. In the My Tasks menu, you see the action item to analyze the request Prepare for Heavy Payload. Here you can also click on the link to the action item. And, in the Affected Items tab, you can also see the link to the Teamcenter object of the rocket. This is the revision A, the released one, that is the medium-sized rocket. Next, we can use the problem report to create a change request. Going back to my inbox, to my work item, you can state that you can reproduce and understand the issue. The next step would be to analyze the root cause and determine the severity, which we will skip for now. Now you have to determine the solution. Solution means that you can now approve the change. Let's go ahead and accept that we need to change something on Teamcenter and CAD side. This has now created the change request. And here you could go on to exchange this change request with SAP so that you could send it back in case you need more information. But, for this demo, let's say this change request is okay. So this is the ECR, and here you can open it in the active workspace and derive a change out of that. So, under New and Derive Change, you will get the change notice you need. Let's open the change directly after creating it. Start the workflow for transferring it back to SAP afterwards. Now assign it to the product engineering release workflow with Model Unit Effectivity, the same that we had before. Before we start working, let's set the change notice to active change so that all changes are collected into this change. Prepare for heavy payload. This is now the change. Under the Affected Items tab, you can still see the 13121 object as a problem item. This is the rocket that we want to change now. So let's now open the assembly 13121. And here you need to set the load options. To ensure that all components are loaded, choose Fully Load. And you have to specify the effectivity you want to load, which is Unit 1. And the end item is our main assembly 13121. Now the rocket is loading with the Unit 1 for the medium-sized rocket. Let's replace the parts from the rocket medium with the ones for the rocket heavy. This is the payload fairing light, which we will now replace with the bigger one. And we have the first stage engine medium at the bottom of the rocket, which we also replace with the bigger and stronger one. The data is already prepared. So, first, you simply deselect the ones that need to be replaced so that they are removed from the display. Since we also need the new parts in Teamcenter, we import them first, using the import method. For this, select the subassembly first stage engine heavy to be imported. Here we see that it also has the same number here. This is the second number, this is the assembly 13134. And in addition, you load the new payload called SAP Payload Fairing Heavy. We'll give it the material number 13137. Now press OK. This will import these objects into Teamcenter. It will also generate JT files and attach the files to the change notice that we have selected. Now you add the new components. The object is read-only because revision A has already been released. So when we save this, we can create revision B. First you select the new engine for the upgraded heavy rocket. It is already located at the right position. And here you see the new engine. Then you select the new payload fairing. You have to select the correct components so that you can connect it to the second stage of the rocket. Now, this is our rocket heavy. It has the bigger engine and a larger payload fairing. As soon as you are trying to save, the system asks you how to deal with that read-only situation. This is where you can select the revision B. Now the CAD file is ready. And when reloading the change notice, we now see the revision B and all new parts as solution items. What we haven't set yet is the element effectivity. So, we need to define from which unit number this change should be effective. Let's do this under the Content tab in Teamcenter. First, we only see the new parts. The reason is that we haven't set the element effectivity yet. It is empty. Also, we did not select to display any effectivity. Next, you want to make this effective from Model Unit 5. So you select 5. Now you see all existing parts that you had defined previously from 1 to up. Next thing is that you have to define our new parts with the effectivity from 5 to up. So let's add the element effectivity unit based 5 to up. Now, the element effectivities of the payload fairing light and also the first stage engine medium from our small rocket must be changed because those are not needed for Model Unit 5. They are only valid from 1 to 4. Now you can't see the small fairing anymore because here we have selected Unit 5. And of course, we need to do the same for the first stage engine of the medium rocket. And now, it is time to complete our change notice. Once we have adjusted the effectivity rules, we can start the transfer to SAP, which we trigger with the complete button. Before, you might want to confirm that this is the revision B. This solution item is now the successor of the previous revision A. Press complete to start the transfer. Once the transfer is complete, we can go to the change notice on the SAP side, which is the change record. Let's begin updating the MBOM on the SAP side. In the change record, you see that a revision 2 of the engineering snapshot was created. When we display the snapshot, in the details view you can now see the new viewable that was generated by the Visual Enterprise Generator. It is attached as a document info record to the BOM header. In the viewable you see the entire new rocket heavy with the new payload fairing and the new rocket engine for the first stage. After preparing the PIP data and also the change record, we have now automatically created a new change record. In this case we do not call the MBOM creation because the planning scope for the Visual Enterprise Manufacturing Planner is already created, we don't need to create it again. So, we switch to the business client again and load the same change record here. The planning scope has been attached to this change record, and we can launch the manufacturing planner directly from here. On the source panel, you can see the two items that have been changed. We can add them to the target panel. First, we have to transfer the current target BOM to the working panel. Then we can add these two new components to the working panel. Now we see that a new BOM version will be created when we save it. But first, we need to adjust the unit effectivity of the old components. For the first stage engine medium, we have to edit the BOM item to restrict it to 4. Because it is only valid for the manufacturing BOM for the first 4 units. The same applies to the small payload fairing, we edit the BOM item from 1 to 4. And here, for the payload fairing heavy, we can see that it already begins with 5. Let's go ahead and move this new MBOM to the target panel and save and exit planning before we can mark it for release so that the MBOM will be released automatically. We can see that the MBOM was created in version 2 and it is also already released. Let's refresh the change record so that we can also see the MBOM. Here we see the manufacturing BOM. This is now in version 2, and it is also already released. In order to see the difference between the two versions, let's have a look into the impact analyzer, which will show us the exact difference between the two versions. Here you can see the net change. This shows that this component, the engine medium, was deleted, beginning with unit effectivity 5. Also the payload fairing light was deleted. Instead of those, we have added the payload fairing heavy and the first stage engine heavy for our new rocket. We can also display the impact of this change. Here you see that the change of the MBOM has an impact on the routing, so we can execute the action. Add this routing to the change record, with the change relevance create a new version. Another object has been added to the change record, and that is the new version of the routing. And finally, we need to update the shop floor routing for our new rocket. Here you see that the routing version 2 was already created. It has the status in process. Next, we need to adopt it according to the changed structure. Let's go into the change mode and create a new activity because this is now connected only for the units 5 onwards. This will be activity number 30. It applies only to the rocket heavy and it starts with serial number 5. At the same time, the rocket medium is now limited from 1 to 4. Before you can assign the new components, you need to switch to the new MBOM. Here you see that MBOM 0001 is still active. The little star here indicates that a new version is available. So you can change the version in the Details workspace. You open the top assembly. On the Materials MBOMs tab you see that new version exists. So let's select it here. Now we have switched to version 2. You can select the new components in the Component Assignment workspace. Here you see they are not yet assigned. Those lights are not green yet. So you can select Rocket Heavy and do the assignment here. Here you see that these two components are automatically updated with the effectivity 1 to 4. This is coming from the MBOM. They are still assigned to the rocket medium, and we have restricted the effectivity from 1 to 4. So, all is good there. Now we're ready to save and release the routing. Save and release, the Maintain Production Version checkbox is active. So here you can also maintain the production version. This will now change the production version with a new validity start date. Here you could select the date when this new change, beginning with Unit 5, should be active. Now let's refresh the change record and we see the new status of the routing in the change record. Now you see both shop floor routings, and here you can also start the impact analyzer to compare these two operations. You see that the activity 20 was modified with the effectivity 1 to 4. And the activity 30 was added with the effectivity 5 and onwards.
You just saw one of many options how the main business processes to combine engineering and manufacturing planning can be implemented using Teamcenter and S/4HANA. If you want to learn more about our solutions, visit our help portal and our SAP community, or feel free to contact me directly. This was the first part of our new blog series. Thank you for watching, stay tuned for the next parts, and goodbye.